Hi beautiful Grace people. Today I want to share with you 3 strategies to help you fight fear when it shows up in your everyday life. Now fear is something we will all encounter. No one can go through life fear-free. It's a natural response that all of us are going to navigate at some point in time and have navigated, of course, before now. And so I want to give you strategies on how you can navigate it well and stop fear from stopping you. Fear can paralyze, fear can keep us from our full potential. Fear can do a lot of things that affect our success in our everyday life. And that's why it's so important just to have some tools to be able to overcome fear when it shows up and deal with fear well in your everyday life. So the first strategy I want to share with you is a strategy that's about vocalizing your fears. Now, I'm not saying go around and tell everyone what you're frightened of, even though some of us probably have done that and employed that strategy before. But what I am saying is find someone that you can confide in, someone that you trust, that you can tell what you are fearing in that moment in time. I think a lot of us have an inner dialogue that dominates our thinking and feeds the fears and anxieties that we face. But once we're able to actually say out loud what we're scared of, I believe that really has a power to take away a lot of those fears and help the fears, at least the strength of them, dilute them a little, just by that conversation, having that conversation and saying it out loud. It also, by vocalizing and being, having someone to share with in that moment and saying, look, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm fearing. It also gives an opportunity for the people around you to be able to help you get strong to get over those fears. Perhaps even when you're saying your fears, they can help you come to a logical kind of way to attack that fear. Or they can even just be that voice of affirmation to affirm that you've got this and that you can go forward beyond it. So I would say make sure that you don't internalize every fear. You don't allow it to dominate your mind and your thinking, but you actually share it with someone else and get a constructive feedback and plan on how to tackle it with someone else. The second strategy that I think is really powerful, and especially in my world, is having a purpose and a passion that's stronger than the fears that you're facing. It is one way that I believe is so effective in being able to overcome fear. And so let me just explain this with an example. So I'm sure I've got lots of parents that are watching right now that are following. And I know that every single parent, they have just this overwhelming purpose to care for, protect, and make sure their children are safe. They know that they're put on the planet for these children, their children. And that amazing purpose and passion that parents have, that allows them to override their own fears in certain situations. For example, if you've got a mum that's frightened of heights, watch how that fear is pushed aside when one of her own children is in a situation where their safety is compromised at a high height. You'll watch that mum forget about her fear or do it scared anyway, push through it and look after her child in that moment and show up. And so I think that's the same with us, whether you're a parent or not. Having a passion and knowing what you're put on the planet for can help you overcome so many of the fears that can so easily paralyze us without that purpose. And so I want to encourage you, think about what is it that you know that you need to do, that you are passionate about, and then you're not going to let anything get in your way so that you can fulfill that. That is one effective way that I deal with a lot of fears that I encounter in my world. Watch how your fear of even other people is pushed aside, fear of intimidation, fear of even public speaking can be pushed aside when you know that your purpose in doing those things that you need to do in your everyday life is greater and stronger, and your commitment is even greater than your fear in that moment. The last strategy I want to share with you is one that I'm sure you are familiar with, and that is facing your fears. There are some fears for you and I that show up that are not going to go anywhere until we are willing to confront them. I used to have a fear of someone I worked with. Long time ago, I was quite young and I was in an office situation with someone that just made it very clear from the get-go they didn't like me. No explanation why. It was a decision I think it was made very quickly. And so I was quite intimidated by this person because they were in authority and they did not cover their dislike for me very well. And so I allowed a lot of things to really, to get to a point where I was scared to be in the room with this person. That's just how great that level of fear I, had entertained. And I entertained it for a while until one day I don't know if you've had this moment, but had that revelation, enough is enough. I don't care if I have to confront this person. I'm shaking, and I was terrified of this person, honestly. And I confronted this person, and I was shaking and I was scared, but I knew, I just had the resolve that, I'm not going to put up with this any longer, and it's not going to go away. I had exasperated every other option to get over this fear and to just avoid it. But it had to be one of those things I faced head on. And for some people, that is the answer to the fear they're facing. Do something that you are scared of. Even if you're scared, you have to still do it scared. People do this with extreme things as well. I had a friend who was frightened of sharks, and she asked me to join her for a shark dive. Now imagine, I'm not scared of sharks, but I tell you what, the water that we jumped into, the actual temperature of that was the scariest thing about the dive. However, she needed and she knew that if she didn't do this dive, if she didn't come literally face to face with what she was scared of, then she would never overcome this fear. So I want to encourage you, if there's something that you are scared of that is keeping you from your best life, it may be time for you to actually step out and confront it. And so they're the 3 strategies that I have for you about fear. I don't want you to live in fear, and you don't need to. Take some of these strategies, start applying them to the fears that you have in your everyday life. And I believe that even though you can't eliminate fear, you will be able to fight it and win the war against it when it shows up in your life.